Welcome back. Network connection, speed, and RAM, all things that matter now when working from home. We're teaching kids remotely for school. Tech consultant Shelly Palmer joins us now to explain via Zoom from Vermont. Shelly, you'd be so proud of me because I finally got internet after 7 months of living here. And where were you last week? Because I could have asked you a bunch of questions about this.
Yeah, it's really important to have the best internet connection you can have right now, and as expensive as it is, and even in an uncertain future, you're making a pretty decent investment. Your computer now is, of course, your home, your office, and everybody's zooming, including me, into everything and everywhere. So you want to have the fastest possible broadband connection that you can afford. If you're in New York City and in the tri-state area, that could be as high as 2 gigabits per second, which, by the way, the whole house will absolutely use. So it's a good idea. But one of the things I wanted to talk about this morning that I think is really important is that everybody seems to need a laptop, so much so that they're really hard to find. And the one you want at the price you want is even harder to find because inexpensive laptops have just flown off the shelves. So one of the most important things you can do right now is make sure you have the right specifications when you go to buy your laptop. And most people think that you need the fast central processing unit, you need the best computer you could possibly get, and that's going to be the CPU itself. It's not true. In order for you to have a good experience online, to have a good experience in distance learning, what you want to feel like is that your computer is the fastest it can be. And what that means is having the best graphics card or graphics processing unit. So when you go look for a laptop, you need a lot of RAM, as much as you can get, as much as you can afford. 16 gigabytes is probably a minimum at this point. For a small computer, even a Chromebook, you say, oh, I only need a few gigabytes of RAM. As much as you can get. That's really important. The best graphics processor, or GPU, the fastest and the one that has the biggest cache. And why? Because it's the graphics card that paints the screen. That's what actually makes you feel like the computer's running faster. And then, importantly, if you can get an external monitor and an external keyboard, sometimes it's a lot easier to do when you're doing a lot of schoolwork or you're doing a lot of, and I don't have to tell people who are in business that, but kids too, it's not a time to give the kids the extra laptop or your old laptop. They're going to school on the computer. So the best work environment you can provide. Again, if you're having trouble finding a laptop, the specs you're looking for, the best graphics processor, then as much RAM as you can get. And don't worry so much about the central processing unit. It's not that important. And yeah, it's going to cost about as much as a flagship phone. You're going to spend somewhere between $700 and $1,000. But think about it as an investment in the future. And if you can't, if you only can find a $300 or $400 laptop, and that's make sure you're finding one that has as much RAM and the fastest graphics processor you can find.
Shelly, quick question too, but if you have, multiple kids, you're all trying to do the extended learning at home, that internet speed, does that slow down while everyone's trying to do that? Or, I guess you're just telling me.
So if you have a lot of kids in the house and a lot of adults and everybody's on Zoom at the same time, or everybody's in a video conference or Slack, or everybody's trying to watch television on the internet or watch Netflix, at a certain point you will, you're going to feel your internet connectivity just slow down, and or people are going to be buffering and waiting. And so yes, the more people in the house at the same time, the more bandwidth you need. In a house with, we call it 2 adults and 2 kids, and everybody's on right now because everybody's working from home, a gigabit would make a lot of sense. Verizon offers a gigabit symmetrical, so does Altice or Spectrum. The bandwidth is available. It's anywhere between $40 and $100, and call it $20 a month, depending on your package. The more internet speed you have, the better off you're going to be.
All right, sounds good, Shelly. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. Be good.